Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Platinum producer Anglo American Platinum will embark on a restructuring program after a review of its operations revealed a number of unsustainable operations. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Now, what are the current and long-term market conditions in the platinum sector, and why has Amplats decided to restructure its operations?
Well, the market conditions are atrocious at the moment. The costs are very high, so mining is a very difficult task to actually do profitably. And they've ended up with loss-making shafts, 2 of which they will close, 4 of which they will mothball. They want to sell 1 mine, and they say that there are 14,000 jobs in danger. So it is a very dramatic, probably the most dramatic finding that has come out of Amplats in its 58-year history. But it's just the nature of the current state of the market, the world, Europe not buying, the diesel cars that they have in the past that require the autocatalysis that platinum can provide. And even from a jewelry point of view, they sought refuge in jewelry, but that is also not creating a good price environment. So all in all, tough times.
Do you think there were other possible solutions to this rather than the possibility of losing 14,000 jobs? Well,
when you look at they're going to continue with 45,000 people. So 14,000 people, they are saying these people will probably have to be approached, and it'll go into a long consultation period with the unions, and they expect that a third of those people, which is more than 4,000 people, 4,600 people, will actually be redeployed within the mining industry. So a mining job for a mining job for a new mining job, and redeployed possibly within the Anglo stable, because of course we know that Anglo have got the coal mines and the iron ore mines here where they will be needing people, but also the mining industry in general, and they'll invite the recruitment agencies and TEBA onto their sites to facilitate deployment of these workers. But I think that 2/3 of the workers are likely to not be placeable in other mining jobs. So what they're offering is this a non-mining job in exchange for losing your mining job. And some people are skeptical about that. But with 800 million in their social plan, 800 million rand, I think you can do a lot of things.
Now, CEO Chris Griffith says the significant increase in recycled platinum supply, among others, is having an impact on the price situation and on mining specifically. Can you elaborate with regard to price and the future outlook for the metal?
Yeah, can you imagine, that you can now get this metal on surface? And of course, the costs of gathering that metal in a secondary phase, the recycling phase, is going to be a lot cheaper than mining it. One thing about platinum, the technical side of it, when you use it, you don't consume it. So it becomes available for secondary sourcing where you can go and recycle it. Metal industry people can recollect that and put it back into the market. But what stunned me is that Amplats reports that the recycling has quadrupled, since the year 2000. So while it used to represent about 500,000 ounces a year, or 500,000 ounces, it now represents 2 million ounces, which means that it virtually level pegs with mining. So, what are you going to do if you need to source this? There are far easier ways to get it from surface rather than going to the deep, dark and dangerous bowels of the earth to try and recover it. And the costs of going to get it at deep level are so high. So you can see why the mines are saying, hey, let's pull in our horns here. We can see why Amplats is saying we've got to pull in, we've got to make sure that we curtail our supply, because there's just too much supply. And so that's the situation they find them in, oversupplied.
Now, Amplats is now proposing that they'll, as you mentioned, create 14,000 non-mining jobs for every mining job lost due to the restructuring. How will they do this, and where will the funding come from?
See, they're looking at doing 300 million rands worth of house building themselves, because we know that shanty towns have developed in Rustenburg around the mines because of the living out allowance and all the other things. So there's potential to employ at least 6,000 people there. What they're saying to the 2/3 that they can't place in other mining jobs is that we will upskill you. If it's in house building, bricklaying, or infrastructure provision, because there's no infrastructure in a lot of these shanty towns. They need to put in, they need to dig trenches to put the water pipelines down. There's sewage reticulation that needs to be put down. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there, and you can see that a lot of the platinum companies are building houses. So there's going to be a huge house building program there, not only by the mines, but also the municipality. So construction has become a big opportunity, and they're saying, look, we can't offer you a mining job, but we can upskill you to equip you to start having a new job and a new career. But over and above that, you will still receive your full retrenchment package. We're not going to eat into your retrenchment package. And we know that the unions are negotiating a significant retrenchment package. It's not only the severance pay, that they're going to say, look, you would have got medical aid, so we want some sort of contribution to that. You would have got a housing allowance, a living out. We want that sort of contribution, plus your provident fund. So the expectation is that these retrenchment packages will be substantial. So those remaining less than 10,000 who can't be deployed into mining, they're going to say to them, look, take this retrenchment package, keep it, that's yours. We will now pay for you to be upskilled, and we will get you another job, because we have contacts now with these constructors. Get a core constructor and ask them to absorb some of these retrenched miners into the building sector and the infrastructure provision. Over and above that, we know that Anglo American has got Zamela, and Zamela creates new businesses, and they're looking for entrepreneurs, and the entrepreneurs are looking for people to work with them. They're prepared to fund Zamela. So if it costs, whatever it costs Zamela for a job, they will double that to make sure that their people can be facilitated, trained up, going into new opportunities. And that's not only in the Rustenburg area, but also in the what they call the labour sending areas, the rural areas. So even their beneficiation projects, they say, are going to potentially create opportunities for thousands of people, particularly the fuel cell. And there are certain levels of people that could move into that space, and they will help them to do it. So the social plan is an 800 million rand plan. It's, I think, although the minister is saying this is not going to work, it's unworkable, I think where there's a will, there could be a way, particularly if you've got that amount of money to put towards it. So I would say they should give it a full tonk and let them put their what they're saying into reality and get these jobs going.
Because in effect what could happen then is, for instance, Anglo could pay for them to study to be plumbers, for instance.
Exactly.
And they can use their severance pay to start that business.
Exactly, and electricians as well. I mean, there are all sorts of opportunities that they could move into that might be far better than mining. In fact, when you look at some of the potential throughout Africa, they might be able to continue as along a new career path that is far more attractive than mining at the moment, where we anticipate there's going to be greater mechanization, so there's going to be pressure on jobs, maybe even automation. Rather let people start moving into new spaces where there is a long horizon of opportunity in the area, and beyond say Rustenburg and in the labour sending areas. When you look at a place like Lephalale, another area in Limpopo, a lot of activity, potential infrastructure development that people could get involved in. So I think it's quite a good idea. I think it's also an amazingly goodwill gesture. I mean, where in the world have you heard of this, where you get a substantial retrenchment package, and they then pay to upskill you and put you into a new job which could be a new career or maybe even a new business for you.
Now, as you've mentioned, the Minister has slammed Anglo Plat's restructuring. What's her main problem with it?
Her main problem is that she wasn't consulted. Now, I think that the window to consult is very narrow. You know, there are all sorts of legal restrictions on a company. Now, I can understand the Minister saying, look, we're partners. But where she's really partners with the industry, the mining industry. She's not really a partner with individual enterprises. Individual enterprises have got a narrow window of opportunity to consult. Because particularly in the case of Anglo American Platinum, it is listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. There are rules there. You can't go along and give details to the Minister about what's going to happen, ahead of what you tell the general public in South Africa. Otherwise, you're breaking the law. You know, it's insider trading possibilities can result from that. So even if he thinks, well, I'm going to the Minister and I'm going to give her the details, the Minister might inadvertently tell others. Others might sell shares. Other minorities will say, hey, gee, how come those guys got advance information on this? We didn't. You know, we're the victims of insider trading here. We've lost out. So you're very restricted. And they can't talk to the unions either until the formal Section 189 notice is out. So they actually only started giving the details on the day, at the hour that they could. They could only give the Minister a broad picture. The Minister has had a broad picture since February 2012. She's had an even better picture since April, when, you know, the platinum industry as a whole got together to try and solve the problems. I think the problem has come with Marikana, where there's been such a hiatus there that some of the normal frameworks of consultation have fallen away. And then all of a sudden, you know, the deadline was up for this review. So 7 days before, Amplats could go there and give the broad outline to the Minister, but they can't give the detail. It's against the law. So I think that needs to be explained to the Minister, that those details cannot be given out. They have to be given to everybody at the same time, otherwise you're breaking the law. You know, you can't be on the stock exchange and give selective information. So there's a lot of understanding coming through from this. I think we'll learn a lot of lessons. And let's face it, I mean, people have retrenched before. They've put shafts on care and maintenance before. I've never heard the Minister say to those people, hey, I'm going to take your license away. Now, I think it's a little bit unfair that because the name Anglo pops up, now she wants to take the license away. I don't think it is within her power. I would imagine that the legal people would say this is not within your power. So I don't think she should be making those utterances, because it can cost the South African economy dearly. You know, anything that you say out of line like that gets investors to move across to another destination. Already, you know, the projected investment in Australia is 18 times what it is in South Africa. It's in the $50 billion mark. We are at $3 billion and people are even marking time on that. Brazil, which has a lot of problems, I think more problems than we have, has got 30 billion investment projected. 10 times more than we have. And it's because of all these ill thought out comments that South Africans tend to make. And now we find, if the Minister looks back on this, I think Susan Shibongo, she has goodwill, sufficient goodwill to realize, look, Anna, this I have erred. And I think she should just tell the nation, look, I was wrong here, and I retract that consultation was possible, because the legal frameworks don't really allow that detailed revelation ahead of time.
And then also we have AMCU saying that it should be nationalised, and I think that also can create problems.
Well, you know, AMCU is a very small union. It is looking to get bigger membership. It's looking to eclipse, and it's never been a fan of the established ANC. It always says we're apolitical. But now it's entering the realm of politics. You know, it's always said we're not ideological, but it's suddenly entering that realm. And even though it claimed at the start that it was a union interested in union business alone, and that differentiated it from the National Union of Mine Workers, which was allied to the government. What it's doing now is indicating that it's gone beyond that. It's going into the realm of politics, and that will be an interesting phase, because if they do nationalize any of these mines in a way that is in a wildcat way, because we can see that the government of the day is saying that the word nationalization is not even in their dictionary. If unions try to do that, I think that they will be seriously sabotaging the economy of this country.
Well, we just wait to see how it pans out.
Yeah, and I think that it shouldn't be allowed to go on for too long. And I think that the time to be decisive is now, both from the government, from business, from labour. We've got to firm up and start working, because our economy could suffer, as we see it starting to stutter already because we haven't been able to export properly. It could have an impact on our currency, and that would be very bad if the currency weakened too severely.
Well, thank you for your input, Martin.
That's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's the show for today. Join us again next time for more news and insight into what's happening in the mining world.